Hello, y'all. It's Mary with Stamps and Lingers, and it is Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I know because my watch just told me that. So we are here to have a video tutorial. I hope everybody made it to here versus over to the YouTube page. Hopefully everybody's kind of getting used to being here on Thursday instead of YouTube. So I have a card that is a pretty hard case. There's a few changes, but it's a pretty hard case of one of the samples in the new catalog for the Botanical Layers bundle. Now this is an interesting bundle because it comes with a stamp set and a pack of 3 3/4 by 5 inch vellum. Now this is kind of interesting. You get 60 sheets. You get 20 that are pre-printed. So there are four, this is extra. There's 4 designs and you get 5 each of those. And then you get another 40 of the blank vellum. Now you might be saying to yourself, I wonder why there's blank vellum. Here's why. Hey, Faith. Hey, Janie and Brooke and Marva and Debbie. Everybody having a good week, I hope. The reason that it's interesting that there is blank vellum is because the vellum cardstock, the 8.5 inch by 11 vellum cardstock, I don't see it in the new catalog. So if you want a pack of vellum, one, you should get it before the current catalog dies at the end on the 2nd of May. And 2, if you still want blank vellum, this is a great way to get it because it's already cut very handily for card fronts, which you're fixing to see, and it's also got these cool designs. So you get one that looks like kind of a mountain range. I don't know why I keep picking up that second one of that. One that looks like that, so you could put a sentiment right in the middle. Color the backgrounds. You can color this, with Stampin' Blends or with your blending brushes. You get a kind of modern geometric look that you could easily put a sentiment in, and then you get some dots, like so. Plus, of course, the 40 sheets of blank. So it's kind of handy, and you can get it bundled with the stamp set. And then when you run out of vellum, you can buy it separately. So that's kind of handy. All right, so let me put that aside. And I am also playing with an a la carte. Now this coordinates with a stamp set in the catalog, but it isn't necessarily associated with it. Okay, so it's really kind of an a la carte die set. It's called Fabulous Frames, and it is truly fabulous. You're going to get these 2 dies right here, cut corners. They don't cut corners. They cut corners. You see the difference there in the inflection. These are cut with the one that has the kind of filigree in it. And then the one I'm going to use today on the video is a much more tailored look. And I've used brushed metallic cardstock to cut that. So it looks very cool. And then you've got this giant frame, which is perfect for a card front. It's actually proportioned perfectly for an A2 card. And you get a couple of others as well. So this is, dare I say, a fabulous die set. And then, of course, it occurred to me, I have possibly used Stylish Shapes since it came out like on every card that I've made. I just absolutely love it. If you write down no other name and get nothing else on the 3rd of May, Stylish Shapes is the one you need to get. I'm hoping you'll get other things, but Stylish Shapes for sure. Hey, Terry. Hi, Joan. Hi, Catherine, Tara, and Janelle. Appreciate you guys joining. And Joan. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, this card uses heat embossing on vellum. Now, heat embossing on vellum is very, very doable. It's a little bit tricky, and it's got some things you need to think about. And I'm not going to lie, I may screw it up. And if I do, you're going to see that it's possible to screw it up. But it's still worth the effort. I think it's very, very pretty. What I did was emboss this design from Botanical Layers in white embossing ink, powder, and then I also embossed the sentiment. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. If you don't recognize this color, maybe this is Orchid Oasis, one of our new in colors. So it's gorgeous. Okay, let's go. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the embossing out of the way, okay, because it's the part that is, making me a little nervous. So we're going to do it ahead of time. And you also want to give yourself time for your embossing to cool, because if you rub over embossing powder while it's still liquidized from being heated up, smear it, I promise. Now, you can use you can put some talcum powder or cornstarch in a sock if you don't have an embossing buddy, or, you can go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and buy an embossing buddy. We don't carry them anymore. No, please don't ask me why, because I don't know. They did not call me and ask my opinion. All right, I'm going to use white embossing from the Basic Embossing Powders. And I'm going to stamp this right in the middle of that piece of vellum in Versamark ink. Now, on vellum, this is going to be slippery. So, just take your time and don't try to, make a last minute change. Just go straight down. Don't rock the boat. And then come straight back up. Okay, here's another tip. This is a really critical tip for embossing. Always, always, always put your lid back on your embossing powder before you ever pull out. Oh, first you should put your embossing powder on your stamped image. I was so anxious to give you that tip that I didn't actually put the powder on. It'll emboss a lot better if you actually sprinkle the powder onto the Versamark. I'm just throwing that out there. It's a pro tip. Put the embossing powder on the stamped image. You could use a Stamparatus, absolutely. But then that would make it a lot easier, so why would I do that? Okay, so remember that tip? Always put your lid back on your embossing powder before you pull out your heat tool. Okay? Also, you want to give the back of your paper a little bit of a flick, and if you see an extraneous extra little bit of powder, get it gone before you heat it up, because once you heat it, you're kind of there. Now, here's another little tip. I took some pieces of sticky note, and I am going to stick this down, and I'm trying to minimize the amount, I should use the sticky sign, the amount of warping that you get with the doohickey, the thingy-ma-wob, the vellum. Vellum wants to warp a little bit when you heat it, so we're just trying to minimize that. It's not uncontrollable, but, anything you can do to help yourself out. That doesn't actually have any sticky on it. It's not going to help me at all for it to not be sticky, I'm just saying. All right, so I'm just going a little overboard because I really like it to. I'm just experimenting, to be quite honest. Let's be frank here, people. Can we talk? Let's be frank. I'm absolutely experimenting with how many sticky notes does it take to eradicate this. Okay. Oh, Janie, I'm glad you had a laugh, and Debbie. Okay, here we go. It's going to get noisy, so I'm going to use my heat tool. I would love to be able to use it on low, but that's not enough for heat embossing, so I'm going to, I don't think, let me see. Nope. Okay, high. And I'm just going to kind of hold it in place, move it around gently. I might move it a little more for the vellum than I would for cardstock, just to kind of, again, try to minimize that warping. And embossing powder is embossing when it gets kind of shiny and bright. You can see it doing its thing there. See it? Everybody loves embossing. I mean, seriously, who doesn't love embossing? Okay, there we go. There we go. I do know they make rolls of Post-it tape. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I'm going to not mess with that while it cools. Okay? Because if you, like I said, if you rub your fingers over that, it will smear. And nobody wants that. Okay, and you can see even with that, it kind of warped it up. If I wanted to, I could probably leave it for a longer time. So we're going to make it work. All right, now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this down. And truth in lending, I meant to do this before I started. So I meant to do this before I embossed it. Okay, so if you make this card, which I'm certain you will because it's gorgeous, do this first, okay? Don't be like me. Don't be a dork, and don't be like me. Okay, so I'm cutting this down a little bit because it makes it a lot easier to get it under my frame. And you can just ask me later how I know that. And I'm going to cut it off of this edge. So I'm cutting it down to 3.5. It's 3 3/4 by 5 right now. And I'm cutting it down to 3.5 by 4 5/8. Okay, there we go. Do that before you emboss. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so let's get some cardstock out. Cardstock, where did you go? Here we go. Now, this is very much a tone-on-tone card. I have an Orchid Oasis card base, an Orchid Oasis card front, and an Orchid Oasis mat for the inside. All right, so on this Orchid Oasis card front, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this, and I'm going to use seal along these edges, and I'm going to put a glue dot in this top edge, and maybe a glue dot right up here. I don't want it to show under the frame. And here is our frame. I cut it out ahead of time from a piece of Orchid Oasis. And I want to do a little quick fit check to be sure that I've gotten my paper small enough. I have. Okay. If you don't cut it down, it's really almost exactly the same size as the outside of this frame, which is a very difficult thing to work with. Trust me on that, okay? So let me go ahead and put a little bit of seal on here. Once I find my seal, which is probably right in front of me. It is not right in front of me. Now, how can seal disappear like that? Come on, man. Come on. Let me see what I got here. Oh, there it is. It was, in fact, I put it away. See, that's the part that threw me off, is I put it away. So I'm just going to use it down here in the bottom, and I'm getting pretty darn close to the edge, so I may have to roll it over a little bit. That's fine. And I'll put a little bit up here, and a little bit here, and then I'm going to put a couple of glue dots across the top, okay? Again, this vellum is pretty forgiving, but it does still show stuff, so you kind of want to, You know, here's a note. I just want you to know, you should never clean your desk. If you clean your desk, you can't find anything. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of glue dots up here in the top corners. And I'm going to put one right in the middle, right at the very edge, just because I really want it covered by the frame. Okay, right there, like that. All right, and now I'm going to, yes, correct, Rosie, thank you so much. Oh, the pattern vellum is the, yeah, it's in the botanical layers, like Rosie said. Okay, now I'm going to put this right in the center of my card front. And my card front is actually, card is matte size. Okay, and you want to kind of do like you would if you were wallpapering with this, because you've still got some warping, and you kind of want to lay it down like that. Okay, and then you can use. I'm going to go ahead and put my frame over the top. I'm going to pick this up a little bit because I didn't get it laid down. So, like I said, it's not probably the easiest technique on the planet. I try not to do hard stuff, even though it looks like it is, because it's got lots of layers and stuff. It's really not hard, what I usually do. But this one is a little persnickety. I'm not going to lie. I want you to be aware of what's going on when you get into it. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to take a glue dot, because I know I can put a glue dot under here without it showing. I can get it under that embossing, and it'll lay that down a little better. And I know that I'm going to have a, what's that thing I'm using? A sentiment right about there. So I may stick one in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and put our frame on. What I'm going to do is take some black Stampin' Dimensional minis. I should wear a tool belt, maybe a fishing vest. I could wear a fishing vest and have my stuff all over the place. You know, you'd think I really did tidy everything up. I'm not going to lie. Let's be real here. My room is in a state of absolute chaos right now. I'm mid-catalog switchover. And by mid, I mean I've taken some of the old stuff out and the new stuff is not labeled yet because I have yet to get all my labels made. And it's kind of sitting everywhere. So it's a hot mess. I'm not going to lie. This would not be a time I would ever do and here's my craft room. I'm just so proud of it. No. Right now, it appalls me. But it is what it is. I've also discovered, and if anybody hears of this, it would be awesome if somebody actually came up with really, really good cloning. I could certainly stand to clone myself for just a second. That way I could stamp and do my business stuff, and I could also be out in the garden, and I could also bake, and I could also do what I want to do a lot of times, which is take a nap. So I need like maybe 4 of myself. Remember that movie? What was that movie? It had, oh shoot, fire. It was a good movie. I'll think of it probably at 2 a.m. Yes, Donna, this is the new Fabulous Frames dies, and they are, dare I say, fabulous. Do you have wee labels to... I don't know what wee labels are. I have not got the labels made yet. I'm working on that. I have to get it into my spreadsheet. Okay, so now I've got my black mini Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to pull this to me just a little bit, you guys, so that I can make sure that it's straight. Because not only do I want it straight, but I really would love it to be covering the edges of the vellum so that I don't have to do something heroic to fix it. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now, what I did, see how I've got some little bit of flopping right there? A little flopping. I don't like flopping. So I'm going to stick a glue dot under there with my Twizzlers. Twizzlers are the bestest thing ever, just saying. That way it will lay down there in a way that is much more pleasing to my eyeball. And I may do one over here too, just because I can. Have Twizzlers, Will Glue Dot. Multiplicity, that's it. That was a great movie. But I think he ended up like getting a little carried away. Didn't he have like 35 clones or something? And they all wanted to have their own say in what was going on. And it wasn't good. It was bad. I can see where that could be a problem. Okay, so there is our card front. Now, I love these corners. The first one, you remember I did use the corners that make the little filigrees in them. This one, I made the more tailored one. So I think you could use either one. I love how it looks with the metallic. Do I make wee labels on my blends? No, I do not. Mostly because I'm way too lazy. And I totally just pulled the trigger and have the new Stampin' Storage shelf system coming where your ink pad, your marker, your refill, and your Stampin' Blends are all together. Yes, it's true. I can't wait. That's going to be the catalyst. When I see that has shipped, that's going to be the catalyst that says, Mary, it's time to get off your butt and get your room tidied up. And I think that may also make me do a complete rehaul of my craft room. I think it's time. Yes, taking arguing with yourself to a whole new level. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Terry, yeah, it looks very cool and I'm very excited to get it. I will tell you, I bought 2 of them. I bought the 48 and the 24 because they didn't have it in a 60 and that's what I like to have is 60. So I have some extra space for extra things. And it'll give me a little extra space. So there you go. So all I'm doing is just using a little bit of liquid glue on the corners of my frame. And I am adhering these little die cut foil pieces with that aforementioned glue and just kind of trying to make sure they're sort of straight. You know, framers are really particular about framing and straightness and stuff. So I'll try to honor the tradition there. Because normally, you know, I would probably let it be a little cattywampus. Mostly because I would think it was straight, and then I would be going to take a picture of it and be like, well, that's not straight at all. That is not straight at all. Okay, here we go. Don't you love these? I love these frame things. These little frame corners. I think that's the coolest thing. And what's really cool is it's like one die all hooked together. You get all 4 frame corners in one go. So that's really, really handy. Okay. Now we're going to set that aside, and I'm going to take a little drink here. Hang on just a second. Sorry. Thanks, Shirley. Thanks, Deanne. I appreciate that. Okay, now, on a small piece of whatever color that is that I've used, Orchid Oasis. Oh, there it was. I am going to emboss my Sentimente, and I am using You Mean the World to Me because I think it's really cool. Now let's go ahead and get this out, set that aside. Be ready to emboss. Ready for embossing. 3, 2, 1, emboss. Okay. And I'll just put it, I'm kind of being careful because I'm using the banner die from Stylish Shapes, and I want it to be centered enough that I can get it around there. All right. I almost did it again. I put the lid on without actually sprinkling embossing powder on it. Don't be like me, people. Do not be like me. So I'm busy working up my special bundles. I'm hoping to get those posted, early next week. And I've got in mind, we'll obviously have a new In Colors bundle. And I'm thinking I'm going to do an a la carte die bundle. So the die sets that don't live with a bundle, I think those will be in a special bundle for y'all. That's what I'm thinking right now. Hey, Donna. Here we go. Oh, thank you, Pat. I'm going to emboss again, so it's going to get loud. So I'm just holding the tool right over the embossing. I'll move it so you can kind of watch it because that's the fun part. There we go. Except I don't like that one because it kind of went, I had a mess. See that mess right there? You see that mess? I don't know that I can get it off of there while it's still cool. No. No, maybe. Maybe. Ooh, look at that. See what I mean about it being a little bit smearable? That means it's also, sometimes you get lucky and it's a little bit fixable. I know, the Fabulous Frame dies are, well, I don't want to say it again because I've already said it a few times. They're fabulous. Now, I'm going to use the Stylish Shapes dies, which are even more fabulous than the Fabulous Frames. And I'm going to cut this out. So I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I love this new Orchid Oasis color. It is beautiful. It's a little bit blue, a little bit purple, a little bit rock and roll, and I love it. We've got some gorgeous new blues, and I like Parakeet Party, and I like Sweet Sorbet, so I'm really, really, really happy with the new In Colors. I hope you guys are too, and are excited to start playing with them. Seriously, is that not the best die cut in the world? Okay. Now, what's going to happen with this is it's going to set right about here. And I'm going to tie a little bow around an old oak tree. Yes, just like you, Donna. Okay, I'm just going to tie a very simple bow. Single thread, no double stuff here. No double stuff for me today. And this is very vanilla. And you might think I would use white, but you know, white embossing has a little bit of a creamy tone to it. So I liked the very vanilla for it, which is why I used it. Because, you know, it's mine. If you prefer white, I would use white then. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere it right about there on the card front with a glue dot. And then this is going to go over the top with some dimensionals. Alrighty. Oops. I glued my glue. I glued my glue bottle. Nice. Oh, there's one on my thumb. Okay. Here. You can, if you want to go, this one volunteered for the job. I kind of scrunched it up a little bit. And then we'll put our bow right there like so. You get down here like that. You do what I tell you to do. You do what I tell you to do. Okay. Now we'll put a few dimensionales on here, and I'm only going to put them in the middle because I don't need one where the frame is, because it's going to rest on the frame, and I don't need one where the bow is. Okay. So it's going to go about like that. What did I do there? Did I get one on there? No, you're fine, Mary. Okay. Okay, there we go. And remember, this is not the card front. This is the, well, it's not the front of the card. It's the card front. So if you look like you're going to overlap or offlap, as it would be, I'm not sure how you would say that, you can always put it on and make sure that you aren't going to extend past the end of your card. I would recommend doing that. The other thing I do is I put a little dab of liquid glue right on the knot. Right on the knot right there, like that. And then the sentiment will lay on it. Frame dies in the new catalog in the 2022, so they'll be available on the 4th or the 3rd of March. Not March, whatever the next M month is, May. There we go. All right, so let's see if I can get this sort of straight. I'll make my card straight. It really helps if you have everything straight when you're trying to be straight. You know what I'm saying? Okay. There we go. Oh, there we go. I'll take it. It's a card. It's not it's not a cookie cutter card from Hallmark. There we go. Now, some brand new rustic metallic adhesive back dots. You get a whole bunch of them in 2 sizes. Look at that little butterfly wanted to be on here, but no, this is not the card for you, butterfly. No, butterfly, no. I'm going to put a large one. You get 2 sizes, large and small. I'll put a large one on the sentiment. And then just a couple out in the field, the small ones. Like so. Whoop. And there's our card front. Ah, ooh, ah. All right, now on the inside, I'm going to use a piece of Very Vanilla. And I'm going to stamp a sentiment in Orchid Oasis. It's very, very much a monochromatic card. Very much. Straight is so last season. Yes, there you go. Well, that's good because, you know. All right, this is my first or second time using this, so I always recommend, even when you're just coming back to a stamp after a minute away from it, it's got a little bit of crook to it. So, or I have a little bit of crook to my eyes. It's hard to say. There we go. So I'm just lining it up on my grid paper. That way I know if it looks straight and it stamps straight, then it'll be straight. Otherwise, I'm at the mercy of how good a job I did putting the stickers on, which may or may not be a good job these days, and how good a job they did engraving the image on the red rubber. So there we go. I'll just stamp that. Isn't that a pretty font? Love it. And I'm going to keep this open. Now, another tip that I failed to do, when you're using Versamark, I highly recommend that you clean your stamp right quick after you use it, because Versamark can be kind of a sticky ink. Where's that other little one? And it'll be kind of gummy. If you find that your stamp set has gotten a little gummy, just take it and rinse it under some water. That should clean it off real nice. Okay, but if you clean it right quick, you should be fine. Now I am inking this image again. I'm inking it in Orchid Oasis, and I'm going to stamp it off once and then stamp it in the bottom corner like that. And then I'm going to turn my card. Debbie, you don't have a new catalog? I'm so sorry. Stamp off once and stamp again. Okay. Now, while I have this out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my envelope. I'm going to use full strength Orchid Oasis here and stamp once on the card, on the card front, the front of the envelope. And then I'm going to stamp twice. Hey, Carol. Appreciate you coming. I'm going to stamp twice on the envelope flap. Didn't use any DSP on this card. If you really, really wanted to put DSP on the envelope flap, you could get some of the new In Color DSP, but I like that treatment myself. So there we go. So I'll set that aside and set that aside and close this before I have an ink catastrophe. Hey, Nyoka, glad you could join. And then, let's see, that's the card front. Card base, I probably shouldn't put that on there. We'll put this on with liquid glue, some liquid glue. And it's just very vanilla and Orchid Oasis. Those are the colors in this card, and I like it. I like it. I love, this could be my favorite new color. Really, it's beautiful. Like I said, it's a little bit blue, a little bit purple. Now we'll put this in with a little more liquid glue. All right. And I sometimes like to use a little embellishment on the inside, and so I put one of the metallics there. Okay. And we'll get the card front on. And I am going to put this on with liquid glue instead of dimensionals. So I actually believe that you could send this, I think you could send this as a masculine card. I really do. I mean, I really do. Now, you could masculinize it a little more if you wanted. Maybe use a piece of linen thread for this. I would definitely use these more tailored corners if you were sending it to a guy. I wouldn't not use the bow. How about that? I would absolutely use the bow. So there we go. And there's our card. And our envelope is already done. Oh no, Deborah, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. Alrighty, so there you go. See the difference in the two corners? Both of them are great. I love the embossing on the metallic cardstock, and I'm loving the new embellishments. And the vellum is awesome. So, hope you've liked it. I hope you are adjusting your list accordingly. The 3rd of May is right around the corner. Be sure to watch for the special bundles. Like I said, I'm hoping to get those posted next week, and that'll be a great opportunity to save a little money and get some new goodies in your stash. Have a great rest of your week. I hope I'll see you on YouTube on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and see ya. Thanks.